So our first unit is exponents and scientific notation. This is module 1, and as you look at this, the first page, you can go through this and mark it up as to what you think, information that you think you already know. Do you know it? Not know it? Have you heard of it? Okay, what vocabulary you will learn? This is what we're going to go over. Okay, are you ready? So, multiplying integers. So if you notice this, they take 3 times 2, 3 times 3 times 2 times 2. They go ahead and put the 3's together. They go ahead and put the 2's together. And then they multiply it. So over here, when they multiply, doesn't show you the whole multiplication, but just remember that if you have 1 decimal here and 1 decimal here, your answer must have 2 decimal spots. So let's look here. So if I do this first one, a coach watched game film for 4 times 2 times 4 times 4 times 2 hours last season. How many hours did the coach watch the film? So I'm going to put the 2's, 1, 2, and I just do numerical order. 4, and there were 3 of those 4's. So if I multiply these 2 together, I get 4. If I multiply these 3 together, well, first of all, this would get me 16, and then 16 times 4 is 64. And then if I multiply these 2 together, I'm going to get that 16, that's 24, 256 hours. Then over here, so a negative times a negative would be a positive. Try that again. Then a positive times a negative is going to be a negative. So whatever my answer comes out to be, my answer is going to be negative. So I'm going to take 1.3 and I'm going to multiply it by 1.3. When I multiply those together, 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 3 is 3, and that's 1. So I have 9. Oops, I almost wrote the wrong number. 6, 1. There are 2 decimal spots, so I put that there. So I've now taken care of these 2 right here, but now I need to do this. So I'm going to take 1.69 and I'm going to multiply it by 1.3. So 9 times 3 is 27. 18 plus 2 is 20. 3 plus 2 is 6. And then when you multiply by 1, it's really easy. So 7, 9, 12, carry my... Now, there were 2 decimal spots here. There's 1 decimal spot here, so my answer has to have 3 decimals, so negative 2.297. Okay, and then you just, right here, your, which exercise did you get the correct answer for? Did you do it 1 or 2 or both of them or just one of them? Now, you will go for this part, you can go into your app for this website or for this book in your waffle, and you can do the explore part, and then you come here. And then we're going to talk about these. So I'm going to change to a highlighter. A product, okay, product, boys and girls, product of repeating factors can be expressed as a power, okay? So this whole thing right here is what is called a power, okay? This is a power. Then it says, changing colors, that is using an exponent. So this part right here is the exponent and a base. And I'm going to change color again. And a base. This part right here is the base. So now there is an animation online that you can watch for that. Okay. So change my pen again. I have 4 factors. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 factors of 3. and that gets me 3 to the 4th power. The base is 3, the exponent is 4. So if I look at this one, right here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 2's. I have 1, 2, 3 negative 4's. So if I was going to write that in exponential form, I would write 2 to the 4th power because 2 there are 4, as it says right here, it has 4 factors. And then negative 4 has 3 factors. So that's the 3 comes from this. The 4 comes from that. Okay. So if I'm looking at this whole thing right here, that's what it's asking right there. This is a power, so this should be power. Okay? I want to get rid of my circling. Okay? Then this part that's right here, that is your exponent. And then the number 5, that is your base. So right here, it says 3 to the what power? So I look right here, what power is that? To the 1st power. Okay, this next one, 3 to the what power? So I look right here. There are 2 of them, so that would be the 2nd power, or 3 squared. Then the next one, 3 to the what power? So I look right here. What power is it to? It's to the 3rd power, or 3 cubed. Sorry about that. And the next one, it's to the 4th power, or 3, I actually don't know, 3 to the 3, I don't know that one. I have to think about it. Okay, 3 to the nth power, or 3, I would do 3 to the nth. Maybe that's what this is. No, it's not. That's okay. I'll come back to it. So if I'm looking at this, okay, I'm looking at how many negative 2's are there? How many negative 2's are there? There are 3. So it has a factor of 3. If I look at my 3/4, how many are there? There are 4 of them. So the exponents, I'm going to put and I'm going to change it to 3. Okay? So that can be written like this. It's in its shorter form. It is in its exponential form. So I come down to this next one. How many 2/3 do we have? We have 4 of them. Okay? Sorry about that. How many negative 5's do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it should look like that. So 2/3. So it's either going to be one of these 2. If I was looking at the 2/3, now if I'm looking at the 5, it tells me it's going to come out to be this one. Okay. This next one. This time we're doing it with letters instead of numbers. So again, I look and see what variables are the same. I have 2 A's, so that's why it gets squared. Then I have 3 B's, so that's why it gets to the 3rd. So I'm going to come down here. I'm actually going to change my color. If I have A's, I have 1, 2 A's, so I'm going to write squared. And then I have B's. I have 1, 2, 3 B's, so B to the 3rd. So A squared times B to the 3rd. This next one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A's. So if I was looking at that, can't be that one, Can't be that one. So it has to either be B or C. So now I'm going to look at my B's. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means it's this one. Okay, now we're going to deal with negative bases in parentheses. For an expression that contains negative signs and or parentheses, the inclusion and placement of the parentheses can result in a distinct expression. So that means that it's going to mean these two right here mean two totally different things. They will not have the same outcome most of the time. Okay, so let's look here. If I look at this first one, the expression in parentheses, negative a to the b indicates that negative b, or sorry, try that again. Negative a is used as a factor b times. So that means it's negative a times negative a times negative a times negative a, on and on forever and ever. So if it said negative 3, all in parentheses, raised to the 4th power, that's negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, which will get us, because this will turn positive, this one will turn positive, means I'm going to have a positive outcome. So that's going to get me 81. Now let's look over here at this one. The expression negative a to the b means the opposite. That negative out front is the opposite of a to the b power. Okay, so the negative goes out front. It was not a part of the parentheses. There's no parentheses. So the negative goes out front. So this is saying the opposite of 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. We know that that has to have a negative outcome, and 81 is the answer that we had gotten. So the opposite of 81 is negative 81. Okay. To evaluate. Some of you are like, evaluate. That means that you get an answer, boys and girls. It's just one answer. So 2 squared is 4. So write the power as a product. So we're going to do that first and then multiply. When evaluating expressions with powers or more than one operation, it's important to remember your order of operations. Okay, so you guys learned it as PEMDAS. Or a lot of you did. Or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. It says grouping symbols. Guys, grouping symbols are parentheses because sometimes you have something other than a parenthesis. You have a bracket, you have a brace, you have a fraction bar. Evaluate all powers. Well, that's your E. That is your exponent. Then multiplication and division at the same time. These two at the same time, left to right. And then addition or subtraction from left to right. Okay? So here we go. We're going to look at this. So if I look at this first, do I have parentheses? I do have parentheses, but inside the parentheses, there's nothing to do. They're just numbers. So I skip over the parenthesis part, then I go to the exponent part. Well, this says I'm going to write negative 2 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Then this says I'm going to write 3.5 2 times. So I've written it 2 times. So now I'm going to multiply this out. So negative 2 times negative 2 is going to get me 4. And then 4 times negative 2 is going to get me a negative 8. Then 3.5 times 3.5, that's a 5, that's a 2, it's a 15, 17, that's a 15, that's a 9, that's a 10, 5, 2, 2, 1 with 2 decimal spots, so 12.25, and 12.25, and I subtract 8, I'm going to get 4.25. And there we have it. It comes out to negative 2 in parentheses raised to the third power plus 3.5 squared is going to get us 4.25. So we're going to do the same thing down here. So I'm going to write this 3 times. So 8 times 8 times 8 plus, and it's inside parentheses, negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. So 8 to the third power, excuse me, 8 to the third power is going to get me 512. Again, this is going to get me positive, and then positive times a negative is going to be a negative. We never write plus minus. We never write plus minus. Plus minus turns into a negative sign. So this is going to get me 27. So if I take 512 and I subtract 27, I should get 485. Okay. Then over here, so we're evaluating. This time we're evaluating. It tells us what A and B are. So what it's going to do is it says A squared. So I'm going to take what A is and I'm going to plug it in. So that gets me 3 squared. Then it says that B, my B value, is a half. So I'm going to plug that in. So now I need to evaluate this. So down here I have 3 times 3, that's 9. And people are like, I don't know how to multiply. You multiply straight across. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, it gets you 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So I add these two together. Well, in this case, adding them together, you can get 9 and 1/16. Now, personally, I do not like writing it like that. I like to actually write it as an improper fraction. So you multiply the 16 and 9 together. You get 144, and then you add 1. So 145 over 16. And this is what I prefer. Okay, so let's do this one down here. It says that A is going to be negative 3. So I'm going to replace A with negative 3. It says that B is going to be 6. So I'm going to do 6 squared. So I have negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 plus 6 times 6. So this right here is going to get me 9. This right here is going to get me 9. So that's 81. Plus 6 times 6 is 36. So if I take that and add it together, I'm going to get 117. Okay. So it's a little longer, but it's the same thing. You just replace. So D is 2/5. So I replace D with 2/5. C is negative 4, so I replace it with negative 4. So some of you are like, how do I multiply this? So 2/5 times 2/5 times 2/5. So 2 times 2 times 2 over 5 times 5 times 5. So that's going to get me 8 on top. That's going to get me 125 on bottom. Then over here, sorry, I should have done I didn't realize it was in braces. So this is going to get me negative 4 times negative 4 minus 2. So this will get me 16 minus 2, which will be 14. So I have 8, 125 plus 14. Now, again, I don't like to write it like this. I like to write it as an improper fraction. So I would multiply 14 times 125 and then add my 8. And I would get 1,758 over 125. But it's the same thing. So we're going to do the same thing down here. The exact same thing. So I'm going to replace my x with negative 1/3, negative 1/3 plus 5 to the third minus 85. And again, last time I should have done my parentheses first, but I wasn't paying attention. So I still have negative 1/3 times negative 1/3 plus, so this is 5 times 5 times 5 minus 85. And so that is, sorry, I don't have a lot of room. Oops, plus sign. Don't forget the plus sign. 125 minus 85. Plus, and that's going to get me a 0. That's going to get me 40. So then I need to multiply these two. So negative times negative is positive. So I get 1 over 9 plus 40. So that's 40 and 1/9, or 361 over 9. And again, I prefer this answer. Okay. The table shows the average weight of 2 endangered mammals. How much more does the brown bear weigh than the panther? Okay, so on this one, on this one, we have to figure out, okay, sorry about that. What is the task? Make sure you understand exactly what the question to answer or problem to solve. You may want to read the problem 3 times, discuss these questions with a partner. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. So first of all, I need to figure out how much the panther weighs and how much the brown bear weighs. Okay. And then I need to compare them. Okay. So first things first. Let's figure out, I'm going to just do it right here. Figure out the panther. The panther is 2 to the third times 3 times 5. So I'm going to do 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. So this will get me 8. And then I have times 3 times 5. So then I have 24 times 5. So that's a 2. That's 10. That's 12. That's 120. And then 120. Sorry, my brain is. Now I need to do the other one. Brown bear. Bear. That's 2 times 5 squared times 7. And that's 2 times 5 times 5 times 7. So I'm going to do 10 here. I'm going to do 35 here because that's going to make it so much nicer in order to do this. And okay, sorry about that. So it's asking how much larger is it? So 350 minus 120. Oops, I think I was supposed to do that down there. Oh, pounds heavier. Okay.